one of our members wrote in kind of a good topic that I want to touch on because I know it's common for young kids, and it's kind of about nerves when you play. And this is again where it's important. I was having this conversation with Dan last week, talking on the BioSteel podcast about when kids or when parents, sorry, or adults forget what it's like to be in the position of the kid. So as an example, I use the treadmill as an example. It's big, it's loud, it's can be overwhelming when you're 6 years old to come in here when the thing is 50 times the size of you and you are just nervous about it because of whatever stimulus overload. And as an adult, I'm sitting here like, what are you nervous about? Like, you're not going to fall. Like, you're not going to hit your knees. I know that you can't, there's nothing to be scared of. Just go. But putting yourself in the position of the kid where things might seem like unreasonable from our adult brain to the kid's brain seems totally rational to be behaving the way they're behaving. And so before getting into this topic, I kind of wanted to put that as like a little bit of a context piece for the adults listening, is that you need to remember to try and put yourself in the mindset of someone who's 10 or 12 or 15 or 17, where they don't have a lot of these life experiences. They don't brush things off as not a big deal. I was talking to one of our guys at the academy that he got in a little tussle with another kid, and he was super upset because he thought he might like be expelled from the school. And he's like freaking out because they were going at it a little bit one day. And I'm sitting here like, why would you at all think you could get expelled from, but he thought that was actually real. Like that could happen, right? Because he's a little kid. So that's kind of my precursor to what we're going to talk about is from the adult perspective, try to remember what the kid perspective is like, which is hard. It's hard to put yourself there and remember what that's like. But that's what I want to kind of start with before we get into the exact question about the nerves thing. Yeah. Anything to add on that or no?
No, no, just go. Okay. I'll jump in.
So I'm not going to read the whole thing verbatim, but the long and the short of the question is, this member that we have was talking about his son. They were in a semifinal game and it went to overtime, and the kid didn't play. The kid didn't go on the ice for the whole overtime shootout situation. So he said that the kid told him later that he was too nervous to go on the ice and asked to not play, like asked the coaches to not play. So this person specified that he likes the coach. Coach is good with the kids. Like he has no issues with the coach at all. He was surprised to not see his kid on the ice, but then his kid came and told him after that, I was just too nervous to play in overtime or to be the guy that has to be on the ice in that key situation, whatever. And the kid was 10-year-old. Okay. So maybe, I don't even know if this is necessarily extreme. Maybe I'm sure a lot of kids feel like this in a lot of situations, actually not asking to not play. Maybe that's like more of an extreme example, but this thing that kids have, this like over anxious or anxiety about playing. I get this question a lot too, is like, how do I, just relax and try to play my game? Like that's a common question that a lot of kids ask me. So I want to talk a little bit about this kind of topic of being too nervous to play and how to fix it, not the right word, approach it, help the kids, support the kids from their like coaching, parenting role, work through some of this stuff, whether it's explicit or not, because a lot of kids might not even talk about it. So how to address your team, how to address your kid, and just kind of see where their head's at to try to work through some of these things so you don't have a surprise like this where it's like, why didn't you play? Well, I was terrified to go on the ice from your 10-year-old or whatever, right? So I'll ask you some specific questions, but any like opening thoughts about the nerves in general kind of thing?
Well, I remember like I'm 6. I remember. I remember when I was playing 9-10 years old, we like on the travel team, we would go to tournaments, and well, actually more than just tournaments, we had one guy on our team that would puke before every game. He got so nervous. His dad was a doctor, and he would just come in and have to give him gravel and stuff, but he would puke every single game, and I'm like, what? But I don't know if it was like, no, I'm not no doctor, right? But I don't know if it was like just a physical response to being like excited to play, or if he was actually nervous about losing, or it was a big moment or whatever. But it hit him hard, and that was like probably the only time I've seen someone physically get sick every game for nerves. But I have seen people say like, I don't want to go out there or whatever. They get very nervous. Now, I think if you go into the Stanley Cup final, actually, I was watching. Khabib Nurmagomedov, I can't say his name. Khabib the fighter. an interview with him, and someone was talking about when he was fighting Conor McGregor, like he had zero nerves because he was so prepared. He was just like joking around, and they called his name, and he walked out like I'm gonna like zero, which is very odd, right? But when you get in a competition, I think it's normal to be nervous. That's not nervous, anxious, uh, excited, and all those things. But when it comes down to the the competition or whatever, what will make you more nervous or will put the negative spin on your nervousness or make it a negative thing is just when you're thinking too much about it, because what you're thinking about in the future is the unknown. And anytime you don't know something is when you start questioning, or because your mind starts to wander, right? Is it going to be a hard game? Are these guys going to be better? Am I going to play good? I hope I don't screw up. And those those words come out of your mouth and those thoughts come out of your mouth, right? Because it's just the fear of unknown. And you know, if you understand that most of the things that you fear never happen, and when they do, it's not even close typically to what you thought was going to happen. And I think when people go into competition, like hockey games and stuff, big games and all that kind of stuff, it's very very important to realize like there's it's that what we always talk about is that mental toughness 101 is control what you can control and stay in the present. And I think like for most things in life, like if I talk to a player, I talk to my kid, like right now he's got his NHL draft coming up and he's going nuts. It's 3 weeks away, 2 weeks away. Like it's the fear of the unknown or the excitedness of the unknown. He doesn't know what's going to happen. And when your mind goes there, you're all over the place. And where does it typically go? It typically goes to what if, and what if means typically for the negative side, right? What if, what if they forget about me? What about this? Like, so what happens is when your mind doesn't stay present, it's you go nuts. You get nervous. Bad things happen. Not necessarily bad things happen, but you just lose control. So when you're feeling nervous, that would be the lesson is stay in the moment, control what you can control. So that's easy to say when you're the kid on the bench that is in that situation. So then what's the build up to that is that's where you need that village of people to constantly remind you. That's what makes good coaches, good parenting, is to teach people that things are not as good or as bad as you think they're going to be. They just are what they are. And then the side note of that, I'm probably going long here, but the side note of that is you stay present the best you can. You teach your kids through coaching, through parenting, and you're always teaching them to get back to being present, what control what you can control. And then the next thing is to prepare what you can prepare for. Like if you're unprepared, if you haven't done the work, if you go to that game or that tournament, or like if that kid's never been on a 3-on-3 overtime game, I understand where he could be nervous, especially if they've never practiced. Now he's kind of thrown in the fire. But if you're in the moment and you're prepared the best you can be, then there's really nothing to get too worried about. Because at the end of the day, let's say if it's a hockey game, that at the end of the day, you're either better or you're not, or you're prepared or you're not, and it's okay. And it's okay to make a mistake too, by the way.